start on time. I appreciate everybody being here. Welcome. I'm currently at the beach, or at least mentally, I'm trying to be there because we're toward the end of the school year. So I'm glad that all of you decided to join me at my beachside home for tonight. Welcome to SECAC. And so for those of you that are your first time joining us, welcome. I'm glad that you could be with us. My name is Kia Murphy. I am the director for the Department of Special Education Services. And also with me is Ms. Crop, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. I'm Amy Kropp, the Director of Pre-K Special Programs and Related Services. Nice to have you tonight.
Now, normally our Associate Superintendent, Ms. Diana Wiles, joins us. She sends her regards. She is not well this evening. So I have very, very nicely said to her that she needs to go to bed. And so she is already in dreamland. I just talked to her probably about an hour ago. So she's hopefully getting the rest that she needs so that maybe she'll be able to join us this week. She's been out all week. So to that end, I would like for us to go ahead and show the agenda for this evening. Perfect. Okay. Before we go into the agenda, I appreciate the gentle prompt from Ms. Johnson. If there's anyone that is desiring Spanish interpretation, we do have an interpreter with us this evening. So again, I want to make sure that we meet all needs, and perhaps if Mr. Torres could be unmuted, he could repeat that.
Ok, entonces buenas noches para los que hablan español. Mi nombre es Jaime Torres y voy a ser su intérprete para la presentación de hoy.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Very good. All right. So in a review of our agenda, right after we finish the review, we'll have our SECAC chairs introduce themselves. We have some announcements, and then we are fortunate to have Keen join us this evening, as well as Sailor Alliance. We're going to talk a little bit about the blueprint to provide you with an overview, and then we will have some celebrations. So with no further ado, next slide, please. All right, our SECAC co-chairs. I cannot see everyone. Is Miss Bloom with us this evening?
Yep, I'm here.
Excellent.
I am in a slightly messy bedroom belonging to my 14-year-old because I can't change the backgrounds, it seems, on this meeting. So anyway, keeping it real in a slightly messy child's bedroom. Most of you know by now, my name is Amy Bloom. Thank you for coming to our last meeting of the year. We have two boys. One is finishing 4th grade at Bethesda Elementary, and our other son is finishing 7th grade at Westland, and he receives special education inclusion services. And we just want to thank everyone for, coming. Those of you who've come to almost every meeting, we're really grateful for that. Those of you who might be new, we hope to see you next year as well. And please remember, reach out to me over the summer if anyone wants to ask any questions or informally chat about special education. Definitely keep in touch. I'll be around. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Dr. Jianfeng Huang. This is called my patient wait time. And while we patiently wait, I do know that, oh boy, I'm going to take my time. Miss Connie Nepomuceno is here with us, but Derek, she comes under the ARC Maryland.
Good evening, everybody. Happy May. And happy last SECAC meeting. I can't believe we have accomplished so much. I was reminiscing our monthly meetings. I will miss everybody during the summer because I do consider these meetings kind of like respite and very educational meetings. I feel like we have learned so much together. So my name is Connie. I have been a SECAC co-chair for a while, but I have been attending since my son was 3.5 years old, and I have learned and grown so much with all of you. And I'm truly honored to be here. As most of you probably know, today is my last session or meeting as a SECAC co-chair. I will be continue to attend, but we're in a different hat as a parent. So I want to extend my gratitude to everybody on MCPS, and also the magnificent co-chairs for all the support that I have received throughout the years. So thank you for your advocacy, and I hope to continue to meet all of you, and hopefully one day in person.
And we will continue to call on you for all the many resources that you offer us. So while you think you're not, I'm going to pull you back in one way or the other, because you have been a tremendous support, and I want that to continue for the parents as well as the staff of MCPS. So thank you so very, very much. Of course, I see Miss Brooke Levy. And by the way, can you tell me, is it Levy or Levy?
It's Levy, you're correct.
Okay, because somebody introduced you to me today, and I said, oh, have I been pronouncing her name wrong for all these years?
Did she? Oh, somebody introduced me today as Levy or Levy.
Yes. Mhm.
Uh-oh, my ears should have been burning, I guess.
It was all good things, good things, good things.
Well,
You know,
anyway,
I was stuck on the pronunciation of your name. I thought, oh my God.
I know a lot of people mess it up. That's okay, I'm used to it. I'm Brooke Levy. I am also one of the co-chairs for SECAC. And Connie, thank you so much. I have to say that it slipped my mind that this was your last day, so I'm a little bit sad. For those of you who know Connie, you know how much work she does within SECAC, and of course also with the ARC. I personally work very closely with her through the ARC because I'm also the executive director of the Down Syndrome Network of Montgomery County. I have 3 children, one who has already been through Montgomery County Public Schools, one who's a senior and graduating next week, and my youngest, Helen, who is 16 and has Down syndrome. So I have been with MCPS from beginning to almost the end. I have not yet been through the end part of transition services that MCPS offers. And I'm working on that now. So please reach out to me if you have any questions about IEPs, the support MCPS can offer, advocacy and self-advocacy for your children and for yourselves within the system. I seem to be, every time I meet somebody from MCPS, I seem to like, they're drawn to me to ask lots of questions. So I am more than happy. I'm very personable and welcoming. So please continue to reach out and ask questions and ask for support.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I will just ask one more time if Dr. Jianfeng Huang has been able to join us. I don't think I saw him, but I just wanted to give one more opportunity for him to introduce himself. All right, I don't see him. So we will continue to move forward. Next slide, please. All right. Our Family Support Services Coordinator, Mary Beth. Is Mary Beth with us this evening?
No, I am representing Mary Beth. Mary Beth is visiting her son, and she's very excited to go visit him. But she did want to share. First of all, thank you. A big thank you for those of us who were able to join us at the resource fair that was held at Blair High School. It was, we felt a great success. There were families there engaging in conversation, getting a lot of great information. So we were so thankful for all of us, you who joined us, and all of you that had a table to share wonderful information with our families. She also wanted you to know that any updates for her for the June meetings will be on her webpage, and that will be coming shortly. So she wanted to thank you for a great year. And again, we'll have a few pictures at the end to celebrate the successful resource fair.
All right. Was there anything else?
That
Okay.
was it.
Okay. We have some partners here. I don't know if our rec department, otherwise known as Sharon Norcio, is here.
I am here.
All right.
Hello, hello. I feel the same way. This is a little bit bittersweet. The year is wrapping up already. For us in recreation, that means we are super busy. getting ready for summer camps. But I want to thank all of the parents who have listened to me, babble on throughout the year, and for your support of all of our family events and your pool parties and our kids' day out programs, and the conversations that we've been able to have with you, because that information I take back to our leadership and our budget folks to try and manipulate our budget and our programming to meet your needs as best we can. We were also thrilled to be part of the resource fair. I know that we had 3 staff there who talked nonstop, which is super exciting. That meant, people were asking great questions. And so we're happy to do that. So after I finish speaking, I will put some links in for this. I just wanted to also share that we do still have some openings in summer camps, in our general camps, as well as our therapeutic recreation camps. Our therapeutic rec camps will be at Glen Allen Elementary School this summer. We were bumped around a little bit with the cuff renovations and things that were happening. So we will be at Glen Allen. We're very excited about that. Our youth has very limited openings, but the middle and high school options, we do go to age 21, do still have openings there, which is super exciting. And then we don't go away in the summer either. So we have dances, we have family pool parties, we have other things going on. And if you need any information about that, again, I'm going to put my information and some links in the chat as soon as I finish talking. And please feel free to reach out to me. We go fast and furious starting on Monday. We've already had 2 camp trainings, and next week we're really rev it up. So we're super excited to have, everything in place. By the time school ends, we are ready to go. And I wish everyone a very safe, successful summer.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Please forgive me. I missed our public comment. I was just so excited, I guess, to get to hear what Sharon had to offer. So I am so very sorry, Ms. Huang. Please, if you would like to come off of mute, that would be Sarah Huang to give us her public comment.
I'm not sure if the microphone
Oh.
needs to turn up or if there's an issue with the mic. But currently, Ms. Huang is not muted.
We're going to come back to you to see if maybe that you can figure that out. I'm not sure what's happening. I did want to make sure that she had an opportunity to share her public comment. Okay, I know that I saw Mrs. Melissa Rosenberg, another one of our partners from Autism Society. Are you with us?
Thank
Oh, there you go.
you. He's
Got
he
it.
got me. Thank you. I had just a few slides, and hi everybody, and thank you to Connie, who I know is going off your board, and it's been a great year for us to meet all of our these wonderful partners in Montgomery County and work with so many families and adults, and we look forward to more of the same in the coming year. And we had just a couple things to share. We had some slides, or I can just talk through them.
They're there. Yep.
These are just some upcoming things. Everybody's always welcome, whether it's in Montgomery County or one of our other counties. We have one more Autism in the Park that got rained out earlier in the year, and that'll be on June 9th at Lake Waterford Park in Pasadena. Another just a really fun, sensory-friendly kind of event. We'll have some resources, yoga, food trucks, the playground's right there. So please come out, everything's free. We have every month virtual, except for August, virtual support group meetings for families one in Spanish, that'll be on June 17th. Our other two meetings coming up will be June 19th and July 11th for parents, family members, caregivers. In Montgomery County on June 14th, we're sponsoring an Autism Dads Respite Night Out, and that's being supported by the Scott Chernak Family Fund. Scott was one of our wonderful autism dads who sadly passed away, and this golf event is held at Top Golf every year in his memory. Dads can sign up and bring a +1 for a really fun night out. So I'm going to give you the link to our calendar here at the end. You can sign up your favorite dad or yourself. We'll be doing another webinar on self-love for autistic self-advocates, and that'll be led by our Montgomery County Resource Coordinator, Kristen Letnick, with Stephen Isaacson, and they'll be talking about strategies for making friends online and safety. And then we also want to call out, we have our walk and 5K run coming up on October 5th, and we'll be opening registration for that very soon. So I'll put the link to our calendar in the chat, and wish you all a wonderful summer and look forward to being back in touch come the fall. Thank you.
What we can do is, Melissa, we can add it in before we post. We can add the other pieces in, or have
Oh, okay.
add them.
That's
Yep.
fine.
Okay, great.
Thank
All right.
you.
Sure. Next slide, please. Okay. We have Beth, and I'm going to apologize. Is it Wenger, the program director from Keene of Greater DC, joining us to provide us some information.
Hi, everyone. You have that right. My name is Beth Wenger. I'm the program director for Keene Greater DC. If you're not familiar, Keene is a nonprofit organization providing sports and recreation programs to children and young adults with physical and developmental disabilities at no cost to their parents. So our programs are free. We have been providing our programs in Montgomery County for 32 years. And our programs take place on the weekends throughout the school year. So we're actually kind of wrapping up our current year of Keene programs, and we'll be on break in July and August, and then return in September. Our programs for our typical program is called, our core program rather, is called Sports, and it takes place, well, in Montgomery County, it takes place at Tilden Middle School on again, it's on Sundays for our kids that participate. It's 2 Sundays a month for our younger kids. It is the first and third Sunday of each month. For our teenagers, it's the second and fourth Sunday of each month. And then for our young adults, we have programs that are we have programs at Tilden Middle School that are on the first and third Sundays of each month. Then we have some other programs for young adults, and we have some other programs for little kids as well. At our core program, really at all of our programs, we're a volunteer organization. We bring in volunteers, we pair them up one-on-one with our kids, and so that our kids, and kids being all ages 5 to 25, 28, something like that. We pair our volunteers and our athletes, as we call them, one-on-one for an hour of recreational kind of fun and fitness activities. Again, for our sports programs in the gym, we have balls and scooters and like 4-wheeled scooters and bowling pins and tunnels and stuff to play with. And it's an opportunity for our kids with special needs to play in their own way and at their own speed, and not have to worry about judgment and kind of keeping up with peers, whether it be whether it be typical peers or others. Everything is individualized, so there's no group goal to attain. It is purely about self-fulfillment and fun and success in whatever success looks like for each child that participates in our program. Some of our kids come in very much interested in sports and wanting to really practice basketball, for example, and really build on their skills and play like they're playing in, you know, on a team and in a real game. And others are either not as interested or they're not so inclined because of their nature and their disability. Some of our kids are, you know, it is kind of up to us to be creative and come up with ways to interact with our kids and kind of get them active if we can, and you know, if not active, then at least smiling and having fun and feeling good about who they are and whatever they can do in that hour that they're with us. Some of our kids really can't do that much at all, and that's perfectly fine. And whatever it is that they do, we, you know, we celebrate and applaud. I see there's a question about how do we get our kids involved in the program. If you our website is on the screen. Actually, if you scroll up, whoever has got control there, if you go to the parents tab, the first item on there is new athlete enrollment. All of our kids are called athletes, no matter their sports skill or interest. That is just our language. Our kids that participate are called athletes. Our volunteers are called coaches. That's our lingo. Again, you know, both sides. Like we have volunteers who are not sporty at all, and that's just as fine too. So you just click on that new athlete enrollment form. It's an online form. Click further in here, you can see the form, the online link, right click there, there's our form, you fill it out and submit it, and it comes directly to us. And as I said, we are about to go on break for this summer, and over the break we'll be looking at all of our new athlete enrollments and trying to figure out how to get everybody into the program so that they can participate in starting in the fall. And so I'm trying to think, in addition to, so again, I guess going back to our typical program, at the end of each program, we have some wrap-up activities, just so that we kind of do something, even though we've done all of this individualized plays, we kind of wrap up so that we can do something together. We get everybody in a giant circle and we do what we call prouds. And that is, we give each child an opportunity to say what they did that day that they're most proud of. And anybody who is nonverbal or minimally verbal or shy or can't get the words out for whatever reason, that volunteer coach that has been working with them for that hour, we have that coach speak on their behalf. So literally everybody is celebrated and applauded for their effort and activity for the day, no matter what they did. Some of it's, you know, it might be I made 5 baskets, and it might be I clapped my hands and sang songs, or I walked around and made laps around the gym, or I made a new friend, or, you know, I rode on the scooter. You know, it's really anything. It's really just an opportunity to celebrate our kids, kind of give them a moment in the limelight where they are celebrated and applauded for who they are. And then we just to do something together, fun and silly, and kind of end on a high note. We end with the hokey pokey, and then that's it. And then you go collect your kids and go about the rest of the weekend. It is a program in which it's basically a drop-off program. So we don't want the parents in the gym with our volunteers and kids. It is your respite time, and it is our volunteers and our athletes' time to become friends and figure out how they can spend that hour together and kind of learn, just kind of learn how each other operates. one of our high school volunteers, actually at our programs in Virginia, was telling me a story that he came to the Keene with an idea in mind of wanting to help and also not sure. He was paired with a child who was nonverbal, and at first it was kind of a struggle because what do you do? How do you it's always a struggle, right? If you have somebody who's nonverbal, how do you converse with somebody who doesn't actually converse back? But our volunteer was really focused on this child and realized that even though he was nonverbal, he was giving little communication cues as to what he liked and what he didn't like. And once our volunteer figured that out, he decided that this was their secret code and secret language. And so he then kind of figured out, oh, this athlete likes to count. And so he came up with creative ways to kind of incorporate counting into their sessions. We found things in the building like in the gym to count, and they ended up having fun that way. So it's a kind of time of discovery and creativity for our volunteers to kind of to figure out how can we have fun. If some of our kids can say when they want to do this, and for our kids that can't say, and it's a little bit harder to kind of understand what they might want to do and what might make them happy and enjoy being at Keene. It's kind of our volunteers' job is to have fun, to help our kids have fun and have fun with them. So it's an uplifting time for everybody, both the parents and kids and the volunteers who are a part of Keene. And let's see, what else can I tell you? Does anybody have any other questions other than where's the new enrollment form?
Derek, I see Lydiana Villones.
Hi, it's Liliana Villanes. So I just want to mention that my son participates on the Sundays activities for basketball. So he really loves basketball. And since I found out about the program, he's been very happy. So I really appreciate everything that you guys do. We just wish that it was more often because he participates every other Sunday. So he wished that he could do it every Sunday. But thank you for what you do.
You're welcome. Thank you.
When does your next session start?
So as I said, we are wrapping up this kind of this season. We're September through June. So we will start up the weekend after Labor Day. So it'll be September, and whether it's the second weekend in September or the third weekend in September depends on the age of the young person that participates. Our teens will probably start first as their sessions are on the second and fourth Sundays of the month, and our younger kids, our 5 to 12-year-olds, would start on the 15th, if that's what Sunday is. So the third Sunday of the month.
All right. Are there any other questions? Okay. I noted that there was a few slides. Did we miss any? Because I know we weren't clicking through that. We got all the information. Just want to make sure people received all that. Was there anything else that you wanted to share, Ms. Wenger?
I think that is You have our website right there. As I said, our new athlete enrollment is found on that underneath that parent tab. And please enroll your kids in our programs. We will get them in and on our rosters to participate in the fall as quickly as we can. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk with you all tonight. Appreciate it.
Okay, I guess I will get started. Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Eastman. I am the Director of Community Living Policy at the Maryland Department of Disabilities, and I am here with my partner, Erica Wheeler, to talk about the Ethan Saylor Alliance for Self-Advocates as Educators. Apologies to Melissa and Connie, who are already very familiar with this information. But before we get any further, I wanted to give Erica an opportunity to introduce herself.
And just for those of you that are new, we had a situation, so we are pretty hunkered down and locked pretty tightly just to prevent people from coming in and I guess bombing us with inappropriate words and thoughts. And so I apologize to some of us, that it's a little bit of an inconvenience, but we do want to just make sure that everyone remains safe and has an enjoyable time.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Erica Wheeler, and I'm so thrilled to have the opportunity to speak to you tonight on behalf of Ethan Saylor Alliance.
Thanks, Erica. So I just wanted to provide a little overview of our presentation today, talk a little bit about the history and how the Saylor Alliance came to be, how it was really just the advocacy efforts that came from such a tragic incident. We'll talk about the commission's activities and the recommendations that came out of it, legislative action that established the Saylor Alliance, some progress that we've been able to make, and the activities that we've engaged in to date, what our future plans are, and then I'll turn it over to Erica to talk about her experience through this whole journey that she's been such an integral part of. Okay, so some of you might be familiar. In 2013, a young man, 26-year-old by the name of Ethan Saylor, had Down syndrome, and he died at the hands of off-duty police officers at a movie theater in Frederick County. And really what they came out of this tragedy is that the consequences were awful, and it really just resulted from the officers' lack of understanding, exercising poor judgment, and their inability to make accommodations for him. And so this was really an evidence of the lack of adequate and comprehensive training for law enforcement on how to interact with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And because of the advocacy efforts of Patty, the community, and other self-advocates, this tragedy caught the attention of then Governor Martin O'Malley, and he had established, through executive order, the Commission for the Effective Community Inclusion of People with Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities, which I will talk about on the next slide. So the executive order established this governor's commission, which had met for about a year and a half, 2 years. It was established within the department's old governor's office of crime control and prevention. Erica was on that, and she'll talk to you about that experience. And it was led by Tim Shriver. And what they were responsible for as a meeting body was to submit recommendations on how people with IDD can be successfully included in all facets of life, with particular focus on public safety. So they issued 2 reports, which I've included as links, and I can certainly provide any additional information after this meeting. But what they came to the conclusion is that ultimately people with IDD want to feel safe, understood, and included in the community. And we use safe, understood, included in our logo and in a lot of our communications, just to kind of remind us and bring us back to something that is so simple that we all take for granted. In addition to that, what we learned is that there are no training standards that exist for law enforcement on this topic. And then most importantly is that whatever training is implemented, people with IDD should be involved in a meaningful way and be at the heart and center of that. So what they did is they engaged in listening sessions around the state. And that's when they learned that people want to feel safe, included, and understood. They developed a list of training objectives on whatever training that would look like. The training commission would have to approve curriculum that meets a very specific and detailed list of training objectives on this topic. And because they had such a great working relationship with the training commission, those were adopted in January 2015. They made it a entry-level training requirement so that every officer who is in his academy or her academy training will go through this training. And then also it's required every 3 years for veteran officers. And they also established those training requirements in the Code of Maryland regulations, which really kind of reflects the commitment that the Training Commission had to this. The commission's subcommittee their training subcommittee also developed a model curriculum. They developed videos, and then they started training law enforcement and including people with IDD. And then the last report that they issued, they proposed model legislation, which was initially intended to be a center for self-advocates as educators, ideally hosted within an institution of higher education like the University of Maryland, where people with IDD could go and get training and support to serve as law enforcement trainers. But as I'm sure you are all aware of, legislation that gets proposed has a tendency to get modified and changed and sometimes watered down. And so as a result of all of those changes behind closed doors, we came up with, next slide, the Ethan Saylor Alliance for Self-Advocates as Educators. So in 2015, this bill was introduced into the legislature, signed by then Governor Hogan, and it established a framework for preparing and supporting people with IDD to co-lead trainings. They established this within the Maryland Department of Disabilities with the central premise of nothing about us without us. It establishes a steering committee to oversee the work, and it identifies entities or nonprofit organizations to operate as the alliance through grant and contract awards. So important to note is that this bill is really just a vehicle for training and supporting people with IDD to serve alongside law enforcement trainers. And we've also been able to expand this to other first responders like fire and EMS. Next slide. So I will say that the progress from Ethan's death to the establishment of the alliance was a mere 2 years, which is amazing in terms of, you know, the speed of state government in responding. to something and to trying to make something positive out of something that happened what was so negative. And here I have a slide that says progress to date, and it spans 6 years. I think we've been able to come to a better understanding of where we need to put our efforts into. But we have been able to make some progress and move the needle forward. So over the past, from 2016 to 2022, we worked with Loyola University, Maryland, which created a lead program for people with IDD to participate in trainings, particularly in terms of role-playing scenarios. And through our contracts with them, they've trained 20 self-advocates. They developed 4 scenarios. They conducted 26 entry-level and in-service trainings, and we established relationships with Baltimore City Police Department, Department of Natural Resources, Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Services, and Prince George's Public Safety and Security Institute. We also, during that time, contracted with the ARC of Maryland, which was responsible for administering mini grants to community-based organizations that were looking to, reduce stigma, increase understanding through a variety of activities. So they granted 8 organizations funds, which facilitated events, trainings, and other activities, and their span was 11 counties plus Baltimore City. And they administered $41,400 in grants. We also, as a steering committee, revised the model curriculum because it needed some tweaking from what was initially proposed, at the outset. And we sent it, we printed it, we put them in binders, and we released it to police departments, and we posted it on MDOD's website. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. Always a delay. Okay, so progress to date, 2023. So kind of piggying back off of the ARC of Maryland's mini grants, we created the community impact grant process for the first time last year. Because the steering committee said, instead of all of these big contracts that we're establishing with Loyola and with other institutions to kind of train and support self-advocates to, go off and do trainings, that's good. But what can we do at the local level to provide seed monies to community-based organizations that can propose their own creative ways of improving the relationship between law enforcement and people with IDD? So we funded projects that were from $1,000 to $5,000 to improve the relationship between these two populations. And we administered grants to 7 community-based organizations, which totaled a little over $20,000. We estimated that the impact was to at least 500 people with IDD that were involved in these activities that we funded. And they were very diverse. They included pizza and pool parties, canine demonstrations, ride-alongs with police officers and writing blogs in response to that, roundtable discussions. The Autism Society of Maryland was a recipient last year, and they did 2 pool parties. And then in addition to that, there were 3 other organizations that we awarded funds to for projects that exceeded $5,000. One of them being Pathfinders for Autism's mock traffic stops, which are fantastic. They are great for people with disabilities who drive or who are in the passenger side, and they get some training and some helpful resources to take with them after the fact. And they can practice getting pulled over by law enforcement time and time again so that they feel comfortable when those lights go off and they know how to respond appropriately. And we were able to fund three mock traffic stops throughout the state. And they have been able to raise funds for mock traffic stops in other locations as well. So it's a really great project and program. We were also able to compensate self-advocates involved in trainings. We paid for Loyola to conduct an entry-level training for the Department of Natural Resources. And we are still working with Deaf Independent Living Association on the Eastern Shore to create training content developed on how to interact specifically with people who are deaf or hard of hearing. We also created a logo, branded the project, and worked on a website. So that brings us to this year. So what's happening in 2024 and beyond? We disseminated the community impact grants again, and we got applications from 6 organizations totaling $22,000. We launched our website, which is great that it's a separate website from the state of Maryland's website and the Department of Disabilities website, because it's a lot prettier and more interactive. And we had a wonderful vendor to work with us on that. And we really want that to be the central place for all things public safety for people with disabilities in Maryland. And we want our state to be the resource and the model that other states can kind of replicate, because we have made a lot of progress with it. Also, the Maryland Police Training Commission has made some changes to all of the training objectives required for entry-level law enforcement officers. So they made some tweaks to the IDD training objectives. So we have to, and they've included, a training objective on elopement and wandering, which didn't exist before. So we're going to work with Loyola University that's going to revise the model curriculum again. And that will be ready by December 1st. And they're going to be working with the Centers for Independent Living throughout the state, which will include content on physical disability. The curriculum will also make a distinction between training law enforcement on how to interact with children with disabilities, as well as how to interact with adults with disabilities, and make that distinction. We are working on doing more outreach activities in person or virtual across the state, similar to what we're doing here with you. And we really want to find a way to tap into self-advocacy groups a little bit more. So having said that, I want to turn it over to Erica, who will talk about her point of view and the things that she's experienced during her tenure with the Sailor Alliance. So Erica.
Thank you, Jennifer. My name is Erica Wheeler, and I have one little phrase: we can do it. And I always say this in almost every presentation I do, but every day in life, I say it. So when I heard about Ethan's passing, I knew that my life was in trouble and my disability community was in trouble. And I wanted some way to help in some form. And at the time, I was serving on the board of directors for Special Olympics Maryland, and my time was ending. I had served for 6 years. So I was asked to join the committee when Ethan had passed away. And I had to go through a series of interviews. So they said, we'll give you our decision in 2 weeks. Well, I get a phone call from the governor's office saying, you're in. So when I went to this first meeting, I was very nervous because I didn't know a lot of people. But when I walked into the room, I felt so welcome. And I knew this was the start of a new journey for me to becoming a self-advocate to change my life, but also have Ethan's life live on. So when I asked to join the committee, they said, we have a bigger role for you. They wanted to do some listening tours. So they asked if we could travel around Maryland so people with disabilities and parents could share their experience with us. So I could get ideas on how we could form self-advocacy trainers. And my journey continues on from there. After I listened to what these families and folks with disabilities said to me, they asked me to help start developing the curriculum on how to train police officers. So we planned a lot of lesson plans. We also decided that we needed to also try to reach not only police officers, but our goal was also to train doctors and other first responders who work in the hospitals, also on the ambulances. That was another goal we have along the journey. But we decided to start with police officers. When I first got the lesson plans all written up, I was able to start doing some training because I kept saying from the very beginning, you need people with disabilities in the room. We have the story. I always say, if you don't know what it's like to be in my shoes, you don't know. You don't live my life every day. That's what I said. And I said from the very beginning that we needed people with IDD like myself to teach these classes. I was able to start with some classes in my hometown. And believe me, the response was so overwhelming. One day, I was walking out of the library with my mom, and all of a sudden, there was this police car following us. And I said, Mom, I'll take care of this. So I went up to the police car and I said to the officer, can I help you, officer? He rolled down the window and he said, you're Erica, aren't you? And I said, yes, I am. And he said, I took your training. He said, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. I knew that my life was going to change even more. The committee had ended, and then we started the Ethan Saylor Alliance. And they asked me if I would serve on that committee. And I was overjoyed. I had joined that committee, and then I was asked to be co-chair. And I was thrilled because I was one of the only people who had a disability. And they kept asking me, Erica, what's your opinion on this? Because my opinion mattered. And it's in the eyes of the person with the disability. And not only that, we wrote up another lesson plan. But I knew that things were going to get even better. We had presented ourselves to Governor Hogan. And there was one day I was at the Super Plunge, as you could see from my smile in this picture. He said, Governor Hogan, I'm Erica Wheeler. And he just smiled. And he said, thank you, Erica. Every day, I knew that my life had changed. And making more transitions. We have written up this lesson plan over and over again, and it just gets better and better. But I also think it's good to show videos. And in these videos, you see me, myself, and several other people who have disabilities. We tell people how happy we are, how joyful our life has been. I can't tell you. There are so many people that come up to me and say, thank you. Patty and I have spoken at a national level as well. And folks say to us, you two make a wonderful team. And we still get together once a month, every other month for Ethan Saylor. And even during COVID, we were meeting on Zoom. I still felt we had success. And we still continue to have success. My role has changed even more. We have made committees to change self-advocates, the way they trained. We've written them up. We have written bills up and presented them. I have testified before. But there's never a time where I'm not smiling. And I know my life has changed. And now I am co-chairwoman of Ethan Saylor. I am the biggest leader, and I'm always finding ways to help not only police officers, but self-advocates. To identify the self-advocates, I make sure that they're independent enough and realizing that they have a voice, they matter. I try to be as motivating as I can with them because you want them to have fun in class, but also learn as well. Not only that, I now work for the ARC of Maryland, and I'm a self-advocacy trainer for improving partners under Carroll County. And I love it. And I share Ethan's story. And the ARC of Carroll County last October was able to have police officers visit them and bring the canine dogs in. They learned how those dogs are so successful for what they do and how to protect them. And every day, every Thursday, when I go to class, I think of Ethan because he is the reason why we do this. We can still make changes. I am always out there looking for folks to get involved. Look at these smiles. That's a community that's come together. It's all joyful. It's also important to build your relationships. The folks at Carroll County have been on some ride-alongs as well. And they told me about their experiences with the police officers. It's so rewarding. Even some of the officers have come up to me and saying, that ride-along was so awesome. These folks make our life so much better. But we still need to keep the journey going. It hasn't ended. I always say, where there is no hope, there is no future no power. Always remember, we can do it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Are
Wow.
there any questions? You're welcome.
Quite powerful. I want to say, I think I saw, was there a question in there a little earlier? While I'm reviewing this, I do want to echo what has been put in the chat. We certainly appreciate your advocacy. The passion is evident, and we're very thankful to have you with us. And you certainly give voice to people who can't be with us to share what you're saying. So thank you very much.
Welcome.
Okay, so we're going to move on to Darwin Wong, and he's going to share with us some information about the blueprint for Maryland. So
thank everyone for the opportunity to present and share a little bit of the blueprint. And I also want to I typed in the chat. I just want to thank Erica for your you're the epitome of a servant leader. That's the leader that I aspire to be. So thank you. I learned so much today. Next slide, please. So what I am here to share a little bit about, it's related to legislation. So some of you may be very aware that Maryland passed a landmark legislation called the Blueprint for Maryland's Future. And currently I work in the MCPS office. I'm one of 4 members who are trying to implement the spirit of the Blueprint law so that it could be a truly inclusive environment and unlock the full potential of everyone in our system. So agenda real quick, by the end of this quick 15-minute, 10,000-foot overview, you would have heard basically the 5 pillars of the Blueprint law. And we also want to share that this isn't something extra. This is something that is closely aligned with the work of MCPS. And you will hear the insights and some of the implementation of our wonderful Department of Special Education Services as it relates to pillars 1 and 4. So I alluded to earlier that there are 5 people in our office. So I am the 3rd one from the left, Darwin Wong. I'm here tonight. And we are led by our director, Janine Backey, my colleague, Amy Beal, and of course, Jennifer Granados. We have a secretary with us as well, and her name is Isabel Bouchard. Next slide, please. All right, next slide, Blueprint for Maryland's Future. All right, so context, right? So just setting the stage here, we, the Kerwin Commission conducted a study to determine where is Maryland in terms of educational system across the United States and also across the world. You have heard over and over again that the world is becoming ever smaller, right? We're getting closer and closer. And so as the world is getting smaller, how do we stay competitive in this global marketplace? So what the Kerwin Commission conducted was to benchmark world-class education systems. They looked at Finland, Shanghai, Singapore. We also looked at 3 states in the United States who are doing exceptionally well: New Jersey, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. And so that's where the research is coming from. And of course, the goal is really to transform Maryland public education across all 24 LEA's local education agencies into a high-performing world-class systems over 10 years, right? We want to be nationally and internationally competitive. And in order to do that, this may sound like, I don't want to say a broken record, but it sounds a bit like a remix of something you might have heard earlier, like the Thornton Commission, right? So in fact, we have spent billions of dollars 10 years prior to try to do the same thing. But what was really missing was accountability, right? We measure what we value and we value what we measure. So as such, we created, part of the law created the Accountability and Implementation Board, AIB, to ensure that the $3.6 billion earmarked over 10 years is actually having a high return on investment to make sure that our students and our families are getting the world-class service that they deserve. Next slide, please. All right, so at a glance, 5 pillars, right? So we are going to focus tonight on pillars 1 and 4 as it most relates to our students who receive special education services. So I'm going to go right ahead. The first pillar is early childhood education expansion. The second pillar is to ensure that we have high quality and diverse teachers and leaders. Third pillar, ensuring that every one of our students are college, career, and community ready. Fourth pillar, more resources and differentiated support to ensure that all of our students are successful. And then the last pillar, I alluded to this earlier, governance and accountability. How do we measure and monitor where our dollars are going and where our efforts are going, and are we seeing the results that we're hoping to see? So this is another way, right? It's good to know how each pillar stands on its own, but like any pillar in a building, the pillars are designed to work together in conjunction to hold up a structure, right? In this case, it's to hold up the lofty vision of the blueprint. So you can see that our goal here really is pillar 3, that when students graduate from our schools, they are able to be globally competitive, and they're prepared for success in post-secondary education, work, and life. In order for that to happen, though, we know that if we want students to succeed when they graduate, it starts with early childhood education, right? We have to back map it. So that's where pillar 1 connects to pillar 3, right? And then we also know that in order for that to happen, we need high quality and diverse teachers and leaders. Staffing early childhood education all the way through 12th grade. So that's pillar 2. And last but not least, we also know that there are impacted communities such as students receiving special education services, our emerging multilingual learners, and also our students impacted by poverty who may need more resources in order to unlock and access some of these opportunities. And then, of course, you see the green overall box. All this has to happen with accountability. So that's really the dynamic. Next slide, please. Pillar 1, early childhood education and expansion. Next slide. So one of the things that we are really looking to build here in MCPS is expand our pre-K to our 4-year-olds. A lot of our pre-K in our early childhood program have been half-day seats, and we're expanding it now. Actually, last I checked, over 2,500 seats are full day seats. So that cannot happen. Just like the pillars don't work independent, in silos. This has to happen because we have to serve students who are receiving special education services in pre-K. So there is a close collaboration, which I believe Amy Kropp is going to talk a little bit about on how to make that happen. So as you can see, not only are the pillars working together for this lofty vision, the people across offices in MCPS have to work in conjunction to make that work, to make the magic happen. So without further ado, I'm going to let Amy Kropp speak to that collaboration.
Darwin,
Sure.
just before, I'm sorry, Amy, just before we transition, there was a question that I think is more relevant to you since we support your office. It was, are there community partners and caregivers, parents included in the group of MCPS employees working on how MCPS will integrate the blueprint into what MCPS will offer or continue to offer as a result of the MSDE mandated blueprint?
Yes, that's a great question. And Brooke, if I remember correctly, we work together in a capacity of some sort. Okay. Yes. Great to see you here tonight. Great to see some familiar face. Yes. So one of the to answer your question, short answer is yes. When we're working with the different central office leads supporting the pillars, we have provided tools and also reminders to engage with both internal and external stakeholders who are close and most impacted by the blueprint law. And so, yes. However, that being said, could we increase the efforts and do a better job? The answer to that is also yes. And that is something that we're looking to bolster as we are looking to for this upcoming year and beyond. I hope I answer your question.
Sure you did, and I'll go ahead and take responsibility. Don't worry, Brooke, we'll invite you to every blueprint planning meeting there ever is and will be. Sure.
And I will jump in and expand on Darwin's good information about the blueprint, and I could talk about the blueprint pillar 1 for a very long time, but I will not. Pillar 1 really focuses from, let me drill down to the real heart of the matter for MCPS, which is that this expansion of full day pre-K for 4-year-olds is taking hold in Montgomery County Public Schools. An important thing to note for early childhood is this is not an MCPS task. MCPS doesn't own the blueprint, particularly in Pillar 1. We are working side by side with private childcares because, as we know, most 3- and 4-year-olds are sitting, are being served in private childcare centers and family childcares. So we have as much work to do in supporting those students, those children enrolled there, as we do with our own. The requirement of the blueprint going forward is that the school systems do not own the blueprint, do not own full day pre-K, but the responsibility and the opportunity is shared. So we have the blueprint is going to be funding seats in the private childcare world. MCPS's role is in providing support to those childcare centers who are opting in and approved to be accessing the blueprint. MCPS has hired an instructional specialist who's really, one of her primary responsibilities is to support children with developmental delays, whether identified with an IEP or not, in the private childcare centers. MCPS doesn't own all children in all 3- and 4-year-olds, and we need to serve them everywhere. So that's an important piece of work for us. And another important work of Pillar 1 is really expanding full day opportunities. And when I say blueprint, I mean a general education student and a special education student in the exact same sentence. So PEP and many of our PEP classes, as general education pre-K converts seats from part day to full day, as do we, in a couple of different ways. Our self-contained classes will be converting, over time using blueprint, under the blueprint mandate, we'll be converting from part day to full day, but increasingly our 4-year-olds with IEPs are enrolled in full day pre-K general education seats, being served through a special education teacher. So that is really, for our SECAC perspective, that is really where some of the most significant differences are, is in expanding full day pre-K services to students with disabilities enrolled in general education pre-K. And as the blueprint rolls out to serve 3-year-olds and to serve students who are currently not income eligible for pre-K, as the income levels expand, we will be right beside students in general education. The general education and special education pre-K and MCPS is really, really literally and figuratively sitting at the same table here. So I am confident that students with special needs and IEPs will be represented well in the blueprint. I'm happy to answer any questions on or off the chat, but that is the heart of the matter as it pertains to us and our work here. I'll pass it back to you, Darwin. Or to Kia. I guess I'll pass it to you, Kia.
Oh, I was comfortable letting it go to Darwin. No pressure. Thank you so much. All right, Pillar 4, more resources for students to be successful. And of course, special education is only a part of this pillar. So if you could move to the next slide. So when we think about resources for students, there's a lot of different areas and a lot of different subgroups. So certainly for our English language learners, our students with disabilities, and so that may also be students with 504s, as well as students who receive special education services, and students with low socioeconomic status households. So we're really looking at how we differentiate the supports to meet the needs of our students, our communities. We're going to add 8 additional community schools to include also middle schools. And then we will also make sure that certificated staff complete behavioral health training through professional development online. And then, of course, there is the expansion of our behavioral health services. And so that's going to be including the screenings and the family engagement. Next slide, please. So as it pertains to special education services, just a few highlights. What we're working on is the continuation of professional learning and coaching. And so what that's going to look like is really trying to offer our teachers, certainly because we have several new teachers, but providing them with professional learning around specially designed instruction. As many of you know, it is not only special education teachers who provide specially designed instruction. So it is extraordinarily important and obviously a passion point for me to make sure that everyone is prepared to serve our students, whether they're in general education or in special education, receiving additional supports in any environment. So providing that direct instruction and coaching to staff so that they will make sure that students receive any type of interventions that they may need, and that may be instructional, behavioral, or social emotional. We will continue to work and collaborate very astutely with our Office of Human Resource and Development to recruit as well as retain special education teachers and paraeducators. And so there is what I'll say ongoing work around disproportionality, not to get too far into the weeds, but the state gives us a report card in special education, and there are among many areas that are looked at, but one that's looked at is disproportionality. And so we look at disproportionality with regard to discipline. We look at it with regard to placement in terms of where a child received their special education services. And we also look at it in terms of the least restrictive environment. So what we are currently working on and where we have not met the goal is in disproportionate suspensions for African-American students. And so that will continue to be our work, particularly as we think about the restorative justice coaches that we have assigned to the schools. We also have our school counselors, our social workers, we have school psychologists. So everyone will continue to receive the professional learning around crisis management and student support, as well as differentiated supports for schools who may have higher disproportionate numbers, to make sure that, again, that we're reaching new teachers and then supporting existing teachers with building their repertoire or their skill set to support de-escalation. We know that since the pandemic that all students have had greater needs with regard to regulation. There were many behaviors that became ingrained during the pandemic, and so that transitioning back into the school environment has been complicated. We also have the learners who are just starting school, and for some of them, it's their first school experience because they didn't have access to early intervention. So we will continue with our leadership series. And when I say leadership, I'm specifically speaking about school-based administrators. We want to continue to educate our administrators. We've had a lot of new hires for principals, so we're excited about partnering with them and making sure that we give them the tools they need to lead our schools. Next slide, please. Okay, well, before we go there, I do want to just check the chat. Looking. Okay. Can you share more details on that, the last presenter? So I'm not sure if you're referring to me, Ms. Crop, or Mr. Wong. And that was Ms. Battle, if she could be placed off mute. Ms. Battle, are you off mute? Not sure if we lost her, but she did also ask about OTs and PTs. To my knowledge, they're not specifically written into the blueprint, but certainly they are a part of those differentiated resources when we talk about support for all students. So while not a specific reference, but certainly they are encompassed under the umbrella of special education services. So their work with schools will continue in terms of that professional learning. Our OTs and PTs have been extraordinarily helpful when working around de-escalation and regulation strategies for students. So I do want to tell you that while they may not be called out explicitly, they are a part of that work and that development of professional learning. Darwin, we thank you for being with us tonight. We have worked very closely this year, so we continue to reach out to you, and we will do so for SECAC because we do want to keep our parents and guardians and community members informed about what is going on with the blueprint. So thank you, Darwin, for coming. As always, we appreciate working with you. Okay, let's go ahead and look at SECAC in review. I believe Ms. Heinze is ready to roll.
Yes, so what we wanted to do, since it's our last meeting of the year, is reflect back on all that we've learned. I know many of you, when we started off, we talked about how much every meeting, I learned something new as well. And it's been a great year of growth and learning for me. So we just wanted to highlight, we just put together a few slides that we wanted to share and highlight our year in review. My song isn't working. I had a song. Sorry, guys, sound problems. I'm not a singer, else I would throw in some music, but we're trying, I think.
I was advocating for you to sing a little song.
No one wants to hear me sing. Yeah, it seems to be, is yours frozen? Mine is a little bit frozen. So our first, meeting, we started off the year reviewing, who we are and who to call. We had all our special education service supervisors and instructional specialists join us to put a face with a name and a phone number and an email. So we wanted to make sure we started the year knowing who and where you could find those resources in the Department of Special Education. October, we had Hyatt join us. I learned something from Hyatt every time. I think, over the 20 years I've been in the county, every time I sit in on a meeting from Hyatt, there's something new that they've offered and new learning that I walk away with. They joined us to talk about assistive technology. And keep going, Derek. November, Brooke shared about the Down Syndrome Network in Montgomery County. We learned about all the wonderful resources that they provide. And I think we also had Liz join us that month. We heard about the low intensity support services, received tips on how to access those. We started the year, the new year, I guess the new calendar year, January, with My Turn joining us from the Montgomery County Department of Health and Human Services. They also referenced LIST. They're involved with LIST under that. So that was a good tie-in with them. And the Autism Society of Maryland, who we have not let go since they joined us in February. They've come back every month joining us, and we appreciate the resources that they're providing to us in Montgomery County. In March, we had February, we also had transitions. We had our breakout rooms where we talked about what to expect as we were transitioning from pre-K to kindergarten, or elementary to middle, and then high school to post-secondary. And readability. I don't know if any of you had an opportunity to see them, but they were also at the resource fair, and they are a wonderful group of young adults who have really taken this on and are producing some really great things. So it was great to have them join us and learn about them, as well as Think College. They joined us in March and gave us a lot of great information about the resources they provide for college options for students. And last but not least, as last month, we had our colleagues in Montgomery County Police Department that joined us to share all of the work that they're doing with the Autism IDD Alzheimer's Dementia Unit. And certainly last but not least, we wanted to highlight some pictures from our resource fair. This is our awesome DJ that joined us, who's as a Whitman student, and he had a great crew in the gym. If you joined us at Blair, we were able to see the hallway was filled. It was a really a great location for everyone to walk down and visit with the tables. And this is just some of the highlights. We were busy, so I didn't take a lot of great pictures, but we wanted to capture the event for those of you that were not able to join. I'm sorry, the music would have been a lot better. You had to listen to me walk through the things, but we just want to say thank you, really, and we appreciate your feedback. Again, you know, anytime people have provided questions or insight about things they would like to hear, we've tried to reach out and get new resources to bring them to the meeting. So please continue to give us your feedback. Share your ideas, share your questions. If we don't know the answer, we'll try to get it for you or connect you with a person who does. So thank you. Your feedback is important to us, and we do hear it.
So thank you, Stacy. Lydia, I saw you had questions, and I saw that Pat Cochran, who I was going to say I will connect you with, has already reached out to you. I also saw that Brooke Levy reached out to you. So please do not hesitate to pull on these wonderful resources. We are all here to provide information, and what we don't know, we look around and ask around, because we usually have a partner in the community that can help us. I am very fortunate and thankful for all of you. This is certainly my first year as a director. Half of it was acting. So now I still have another year to talk about how I knew I am. So I will continue to ask you questions. I do appreciate, again, all of the support that you have provided to the parent community. And so this summer, yes, the SECAC co-chairs will be busy with me, and we will try to make sure that we take into account the feedback that you provide so that next year will be even better. So please take time to complete the evaluation. It's very helpful for us to determine how we can meet your needs. We certainly have the parent survey, which at some point will be sent to us from the Maryland State Department of Education, but we love the real-time feedback that you can offer us. I wish all of you an absolute wonderful summer. I'm not sure I know what a break is, but I hope that you have one and that you're able to enjoy that time with friends or family, if it's to take a trip. Or whatever it is that you have planned. I hope that you will enjoy yourself. I want to also thank all of the MCPS staff that have joined me, and the parents and the community members during these meetings and have reached out to provide support. And of course, Mr. Ritzenberg, we never get to really see you, but thank you so much for projecting, for taking us off mute, for keeping us safe. And of course, our interpreters. They keep everybody informed. I think I've gotten everybody. I'm connected at the hip with Sharon Norcio for a variety of resources. So Sharon, you'll be joining us this summer too, some point. Yes. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a good evening.